So, a very good morning to all of you. It's a beautiful day at APAO International Conference, which is happening in Delhi. And I'm sitting at the ESW stall with none other than Dr. Mohita Sharma, ma'am. She has been the inspiration for all of us youngsters, a symbol of women empowerment with ma'am's WOS societies, a surgeon par excellence, an academician, and an early adopter of the dry eye treatments which are available today. So, a very warm welcome to you, ma'am, to this podcast. And I would like to start with the first question that these days, with excessive screen usage, we know that most of the people are long hours, about 10 hours, 12 hours on the screens. They are working on the screens, their entertainment, their social media, everything is on the screen. And this screen is one of the biggest toxins for dry eye problems. So, what is your experience with youngsters now?
When we talked about dry eye, till now, till about a few years back, I would say till about the pre-COVID era, it used to be mainly the older age group which was suffering from dry eye, or probably women who were in the post-menopausal age. Those were the people who were suffering more from dry eye. But now what we see is that we find that all age groups are suffering from dry eye, and this is probably related to I think the biggest reason is the screens, and apart from that also our atmosphere, because there is so much of pollution in the atmosphere, plus our changing lifestyles where we are continuously exposed to air conditioning
Yes.
or to heating. So these are the factors which have resulted in our OPDs changing to patients who are all, where we find that almost all our patients are suffering from dry eye, some or the other form, whether it's mild, it's moderate, or it's severe.
Definitely, ma'am. And I would second that with growing use of screens and technologies, we understand that when you are hooked onto the screens, the blinking rate reduces drastically. And that is the real problem why these problems are coming out in youngsters now.
Yes.
Where previously it was a problem of older generation, and as you rightly mentioned, menopausal women. So, ma'am, when somebody comes in with these problems, how do you proceed with the diagnosis and treatments? How do you first come to a diagnosis that that person has dry eye problems?
So, first of all, Rahil, what we have made a change in our practice is that any patient who walks into our clinic is given an OSDI scoring chart and they fill it up. This is mandatory for all, for anybody who walks in our OPD. So when they fill up this OSDI chart, along with this, we also ask them how many hours are they exposed to the screen, and it is actually disturbing to see the number of hours that they give to us, because majority of the people will give us a figure of around 8 to 10 hours when it is adults. Some would even say 17, 18 hours.
Yeah.
And if it comes to children, then also you would get a figure of around 3 to 4 hours.
I
3
know,
to 5
and I'm all these kids who are newborn,
Yes.
1 year old, 2 years old.
They also have a screen
I
time.
know the mothers are finding it as a solution.
Yes.
That when the baby cries, they just give the phone to them,
Yes.
and they're not realizing that this is also creating myopia,
Yeah.
and this is also creating dry eye.
Yes. The our first step is when we see our OSDI scoring, as well as we see what the patient has written as number of hours of screen exposure. That puts the first thing in our head. Yes, this could be a patient of dry eye. And then we ask them their symptoms. When we ask their symptoms, as I said, since most of them are suffering from dry eye and symptomatic dry eye, we find that most of them have this common complaint. There is some foreign body sensation. There is intolerance to air conditioning, or any kind of smoke, any kind of light, any kind of wind, draft of wind. So their eyes are intolerant to all this, and along with this, they will say they have some burning sensation, they have some redness, and they have sometimes some tearing also, which is a symptom which when we tell them they're suspected as dry eye, they feel surprised because they say, "But doctor, I have so much of tearing of the eyes." So that's when we explain to them that there is a tearing, which is basically an involuntary kind of reflex
Yes,
secretion.
reflex
Yeah.
tearing is
So
happening.
the symptom is opposite of what we would expect
Yeah.
in a dry eye. So when we explain all this to the patient, After that, and we see clinically and we suspect a dry eye, then we take up the patient for various investigations. And this includes simple investigations which used to be done till now in the past, which includes our Schirmer's test, it includes our Rose Bengal staining, our tear breakup time. And along with this, now we are armed with new armamentarium, and that is we have all these dry eye diagnostic machines.
Yes.
So which are a great help to us. Now, when we check the patient on these dry eye diagnostic machines, the one that I'm using is called Tear Check, and we have many such similar machines. But in Tear Check, I find that I can find out what is the cause for dry eye, because it will give me all the information about the meibomian glands. The meibom it is a machine basically meant for meibography, and it will tell me how the meibomian glands are, how much percentage are damaged, how much percentage are still working. And actually this can be shown to the patient on the chart, so that the patient also feels convinced of further treatment.
I think that is the biggest beauty of the system.
Yes.
That when we are, even I am using the tear check machine because I feel that that is the only machine available as of today which is giving you a comprehensive checkup. And the meibography, I feel, is the most important thing, especially to educate the patient. So when you're able to show them that this is how the normal glands look like, and you look at your glands, they've become thinner, they've become tortuous. He's able to understand what exactly is happening, and he gets motivated.
In fact, many a times they tell us first time somebody did this for me.
Yeah.
I've been running from clinic to clinic getting no relief, but now I know what the cause of my problem is, and they become more compliant to your treatment. Because apart from this meibography, the tear check will give us more information also. It will tell us what is our tear breakup time. So we need not do it how we were doing till now on the slit lamp. It is automatically giving us the reading. It is telling us about the tear meniscus. Again, we used to manually try to see on the slit lamp, and it was more subjective kind of a thing. But here we are getting everything in an objective manner. It's also doing a grading, telling us whether the dry eye and whether that particular parameter that we are checking is mildly affected, moderately affected, or severely affected. So this helps us in customizing our treatment depending on the grade of dry eye that is
Definitely. And so many times, ma'am, I see patients coming to me, and when we do these testings, they tell me most of the time that this is the first time we've got a dry eye test done.
Exactly.
Before that, whenever we are visiting our consultants or physicians, 90% of the times we are just given drops, and the next doctor is just changing the frequency and type of drop. They are not actually looking at the root cause of problem.
Yes.
So the patients have to be really educated that the dryness can be the aqueous deficiency also, it can be lipid deficiency also, and it can be a mixed type also. And majority of the times you are looking at patients who have mixed kind of a dryness. So they need help for both the aqueous part and the lipid part. So for aqueous part, ma'am, usually even I am prescribing drops. And for the lipid part, I rely more on the IPL therapies. And what is your approach?
Rahil, it is a very surprising fact that after all these diagnostic equipment came to us, it suddenly came as a realization to us that the meibomian gland disease, which we thought was there in 20 to 30% of dry eye cases, is that percentage is not correct. Now, in our practical experience, what I have found is that MGD is there in around 80% of dry eye cases. Have you also seen
They're
that?
just not aware about it.
Yes.
Every patient that comes in, I have to show him, ki, look at your meibomian glands.
Yes.
They're supposed to be straight,
Yes.
like your fingers, and look at the tortuosity, look at the architecture. Then they understand that there is this underlying problem that needs to be addressed.
Yes, exactly. And along with that, we also tell them that if you delay treatment, it is important to do treatment. If you delay treatment and not do it in time, then these meibomian glands may become totally damaged and we cannot recover them. So it's very important that the patient understands what the treatment is. Then only the patient will be compliant to the treatment. Otherwise, they'll keep running from one clinic to other, changing their eye drop. So we want to treat the root cause of the disease. Apart from this, Rahil, there are many other things that this tear check will tell us. There is an eye fitness score where we can actually ask the questions, and based on their subjective response, we can tell them, okay, this is your scoring. whether it's mild, moderate, or severe. It can also check what is the level of what is the situation of our blood vessels.
Yes.
So that hyperemia, black index can also be measured,
Absolutely.
and it can be put on a scale of mild, moderate, severe. So all this has improved our treatment modalities and the outcomes that our patients get.
And ma'am, like you rightly pointed, that the questionnaire, the initial 5 minutes that you're spending with your patients, taking the history, examining the risk factors, I think that plays a very big role into making a diagnosis.
Absolutely.
There's so much of insights you get just
Absolutely.
talking to your patients.
Absolutely. So, in this, I'll also like to say yes, questionnaires is very important, and most of our dry eyes are symptomatic, but there are some dry eyes which are asymptomatic also. So, if even if the patient is sometimes not giving that complaint, but we can see it there on a slit lamp examination when we check on the meibomian gland, then we advise a tear check to the patients, and I feel it's an absolute change in the field of dry eye because we've been able to actually find out what is the root cause and treat it.
Yes. So, ma'am, how do you plan the treatments? Let's say a patient comes in, has some symptoms, and we examine them, and the dryness was of a mild grade dryness. So, how do you proceed with the treatments? Are you giving only drops in the beginning, or you supplementing with the IRPL therapies also?
For moderate to severe dry eye, it is eye drops combined with IRPL therapy. IRPL, for the benefit of the audience, is intense regulated pulse light.
Yeah.
So that therapy is combined with eye drops. For a mild kind of a dry eye, we may just do with the eye drops, and if that itself works along with some hot fermentations,
Yes.
then that may be good enough.
Yes, exactly what I
That's
follow, ma'am.
also what you're doing?
Yeah. So initially, when the patient comes in and we look at the symptoms, we are looking at scores, we are looking at the diagnostic things. So initially, I am prescribing them some basic lubricating drops
Yes.
along with sometimes mild steroids or cyclosporins. And then exactly the same thing I advise them that every day before you sleep, you should just make it a habit to heat your lids
Yes.
and just massage them so that the flow of lipid is restored as much as possible.
Yes.
And then when this doesn't work out, then the second step is to recommend them the IPL therapy.
Absolutely. I follow the same, Rahil. And when I need to do a IRPL therapy for the patient, I will normally advise them 3 sittings on day 0, day 15, and day 45. And but also make them prepared that they may need a 4th sitting, so that they're mentally prepared about that. And normally what I tell them is don't come to me after first sitting saying that it did not benefit.
Yes, yes.
So whether-
That is the most important thing that I
It
feel
is-
so that this relief is gradual.
complete the whole course. You remember how it is with intravitreal injections also in retina. We tell them now that these are your 3 loading doses, and don't come to us before you complete these 3 loading doses, because for any treatment to be effective, you need to complete your whole course.
Yep.
And then we will decide about the 4th sitting. But I've seen that after the 2nd sitting,
The
they
comfort
do
starts
start
mentally.
improving.
Yes, yes.
But surprisingly, Rahil, you also might have seen there are some patients immediately after IRPL therapy, they say, I'm already feeling better.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know whether it is
We-
psychological
all
or
kind of
it's
variations.
actual, but they do say so. And that's a happy moment for them.
I think that is the beauty of human body.
Yes.
That every eye is different.
Yes.
Some people respond early, some people respond late. Some people might need additional sittings over the 3 standard that we do. So I've gone as high as 9 sittings in a patient also, and it worked really well. But ma'am, for all those resistant cases, the severe dry eye cases, how much do you think the IPL benefits? Because I share my experience. I've had few patients of job runs, and I discussed with my colleagues also, my seniors also. Usually, they were of this opinion that for severe cases, the IPL doesn't benefit too much. But still, I've been continuing doing the sittings. We are on the 6th sitting now, and the patient is actually finding relief. What would be your opinion?
So I feel the same as what you have seen. That's my experience too, Rahil. That I have seen that even severe cases benefit. It's not that they do not benefit. There may be one odd case where we have combined it with punctal plugs, and so to provide that additional benefit.
Yeah.
But even the use of punctal plugs has become very minimal now.
Yes.
Because as I said, most of our cases are now meibomian gland disease, and 80% is a huge figure for MGD. And this is actually like an epidemic of MGD.
Exactly. bigger than COVID, bigger than myopia, I feel also.
Yes, it's a bigger than all that.
Yeah.
And only thing is you need to have the correct diagnostics to measure that, and you need to provide the treatment for that in a correct manner.
So, ma'am, all this while you've been discussing that IPL therapies are for MGDs, ocular rosacea, telangiectasia, and dry eye problems. Um, do you also feel that some people need these therapies and treatments before undergoing a cataract, let's say a premium cataract surgery, or let's say a refractive procedure? Because sometimes I see that the patient presents with the dry eye problems looking for a cataract treatment. And when we treat them, the biometric values, the toric axis, they all change.
It all changed. You're absolutely right, Shahil, there. Now it's an era of presbyopia correcting lenses and premium lenses where expectations are very, very high. And we have a lot of equipment which is to do with getting that accurate power for the patient, which we need to
Yes, and every equipment says that you need good ocular surface
Yes.
to take proper
But
measurements.
good ocular surface is the most important thing because no machine can give you correct powers unless your ocular surface is good. Yes, so for any moderate or severe dry eyes, this is a change in our practice pattern which we have made now, that we tend to do one sitting of this pulse therapy before cataract surgery, and that is normally we would like to extend it for a 2 weeks gap. But if they are in a great hurry, then it may be a one, but minimum of 1 week gap is what we keep. And then we do a repeat biometry, and then we get the accurate IOL power. It's not just the power, it's also the comfort in the post-operative period. We want our happy
There's a
patients.
satisfaction
Yes,
post-op.
Yes,
Yeah.
because otherwise they keep coming to us and they're telling us that everything is okay, vision is 6/6, but
Yeah.
I'm not happy.
Exactly.
So I am not happy. Something is not comfortable. So we are looking for now not just that numerical 6/6. We are also looking for a quality of vision where they are
Exactly.
happy and comfortable. And I'm sure the same thing you might be doing. Or do you prefer to give it after the cataract surgery?
After cataract surgery, sometimes, but now with all the cataract and refractive procedures, I've made it a point that all these patients undergo the tear check once, so that in case we feel that the surface is not very good, we give them some drops, some anti-inflammatories, maybe some IPL settings, and we are very confident when the ocular surface is nice and healthy. So we are able to more confidently, discuss with the patients and not exactly promise, but give them the best outcomes that we can.
Yes, and I would say even if they have a mild dry eye, then also we kind of mentally prepare them that after the cataract surgery, say 2 to 3 weeks after that, we will do some Hals therapies for you. The reason being that as it is, any surgery is going to worsen their dry eyes. So this mild may get converted to moderate, and then so it's better that they are prior prepared mentally that this is an added treatment which they would need for their best comfort. And they most of the
How
time
about
understand.
refractive patients?
Same with the refractive patients, because these are the patients, in fact, who are more exposed to screens.
Yeah.
And as you said, whenever you are in front of the screens, they are continuously, we tend to stare at the screen, we don't blink. And even if we blink, many of these patients, we have seen that when we do a tear check for them, that they have an incomplete blink.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so that's an incomplete blink. Or even if we have seen that on mybography, everything may be okay, but they have an incomplete blink. So this tear check will at least give us the reason for why the patient
It's
is having some problems later. So it's
I think that is the advantage of these newer technologies, that we are able to get a detailed evaluation and we can pinpoint
yes.
the real root cause of the issue. And when we treat that, the really patient gets comfortable.
Absolutely.
And for IPL therapies, ma'am, I also use them a lot of time in my post-refractive patients who are not benefiting too much with the lubricating drops. And we all know that refractive patients, especially the LASIK patients, they have these post-op dryness. So this also works really well.
So, Ryan, you being such a prolific refractive surgeons, you are one of the highest volumes refractive surgeons in our country. For once, I would like to ask you: would you you would do a tear check for all your refractive surgery patients?
Everybody.
Would you do IRPL pre-refractive surgery or post?
Pre, I feel about 10 to 20% need them. And post also, it would be somewhere around 10% only.
Content.
But 90% get very comfortable with the drops. But 10%, all those resistant cases, already 3 months passed, they are still not having that relief. And I advise them 3 sittings or 6 sittings. And how about glaucoma patients, ma'am? Do you pre-counsel them that now we are starting with the drops and you will
Yes.
eventually
Yes.
start having dry eye
That's a
drops?
new segment that we are looking at. And this was glaucoma is a blinding disease. So our whole focus and the focus of the patient used to be always on the optic nerve.
Yes.
Nobody thought of the
But
lot of the eye. And so many eye drops we keep giving. And most of the anti-glaucoma drugs are toxic to the ocular surface. Most of them, I would say 95% of them are like are such. And till now, we had been prescribing lubricants along with anti-glaucoma drugs. But now this is a new segment where, as such, as you already know, that glaucoma patients do not have symptoms. They don't have symptoms. It's only that we are monitoring their nerve, their fields, etc. So for them, a very big reason for being less compliant is when these eye drops are causing all the dryness. So to improve the compliance, it becomes important to combine this with.
And whenever all these patients of MGD or any other patient who's getting these dry eye treatments, also what I follow is, and I would want to know what you do, ma'am, that after 3 sittings, then I repeat the tear check. And then I'm able to show to the patient, these were your values before, these are your values now. So this is how the treatment is working.
Yes, we do that always. And in sometimes, and even if our repeatedly telling them, then come only after 3 sittings. If they want to see in between,
Yes.
then also we repeat and show to them,
Yes.
so that improves their compliance.
There is a
Basically,
confidence
improvement.
also in
Yeah.
patients' mind, especially those patients who maybe got the first sitting done or maybe 2 sittings done, not finding too much of relief.
Yes.
This gives a lot of confidence.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Anything else you would like to add for youngsters to maybe, address the dry eye problem and the ocular surface problem more religiously? Because I feel most of the times this problem is ignored and we don't understand this, that this is the first refractive medium from which the light is entering your eye. If this is unhealthy, you can never have that perfect and comfortable visual quality.
So I would say, Rahil, if we were asked how frequent should be an eye checkup, we have always recommended post 40 years of age, everybody should have an eye checkup for check on the retina, check on the nerve for any early glaucoma, etc. But now with the changing lifestyles and so much of use of screens, in fact, that's what I recommend to all my patients, whatever age group you may be. But if you have more than 2 to 3 hours of screen time, get a dry eye evaluation done.
Yes.
So that your problem can be detected in time. And if it's detected in time, we can give you the treatment. And screens is like a necessary evil. You cannot get rid of screens. You're all surrounded by screens.
Every day,
All-
2 to
all-
3 hours.
Yeah.
We ourselves don't follow.
Yeah. So, and for those who are working in IT sector, it's like 10, 12 hours. It is a must for them. In banking sector, every sector, it is like a must. So for them, it should be a 1 yearly checkup, whether they have symptoms or they don't have symptoms, and they should keep their dry eye under control. And a simple tear check is going to give them so much of information, so that they can work in a comfortable manner for many years in their life.
And also a lot of young girls who are habitual of using makeups every day, who are habitual of using contact lenses every day. They have also become a huge part of this pool coming in with all these problems. But even in these cases, I feel IPL works beautifully.
Absolutely. Contact lens is a very important cause for dry eye. So for them, it has to be contact lens combined with IRPL.
And it was so interesting, ma'am. This girl came in to me with dry eye problems. We did the tear check for her. We did the staining for her. Everything coming out to be normal. Then we realized that all that mascara particles were blocking the openings of my bone and glass.
Okay.
And then we had to clean to give her that relief.
Yes.
So then I've also added this to my protocol that whenever I ask my patients to do that heat and massaging at night, I also tell them that you take an eyelid wipe and you just swipe through the lid margins, so that if there is any lipid debris or any other debris that could be maybe blocking the openings, even that gets cleared out.
And a lot of good medicated eye wipes are also available.
Yes.
Now some have aloe vera, some have tea tree.
TTO, yeah.
And they themselves are going to be
They help in
beneficial.
gastritis, also help in MGDs also. So that's
Absolutely.
added comfort for the patient. Okay. Anything else, ma'am, you would like to add before we conclude the podcast?
I would say this is a very, very important topic which has been covered. And this, as I said before, this is like an epidemic. And whether it is for somebody who has no symptoms, somebody who has symptoms, somebody who's going to go in for surgery, or and anybody who's of any age group, this is a problem which needs to be addressed, and it has to be addressed in a customized manner. So it should not be, and this is for our ophthalmology friends also. It should not be a hit and trial of medications. It should be as per customization, because when such good diagnostics and treatment are available, it is our duty to give it to our patients, and it is the duty of our patients to come to us in right time so that we are able to do it.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time for this podcast. And really, the purpose of doing all these podcasts is to spread awareness about dry eyes, which I feel is actually inadequate, unavailable to the patients. So many times they don't even know that there's a problem in the eye, so they're not coming ahead for treatment.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am. We'll look forward to more conversations with you.
Thank you.